Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss, and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. I am so late, yeah. I've been having like a little bit of trouble, like all of my applications wanted to update and everything. I can't get this light to turn on. Hold on. I think I might have just fixed it. There we go. Okay, hey, let's so we just had the initial jobless claims, and the market is reacting to that a lot more strongly than I thought we would. So what are we getting? We have initial jobless claims of 231 versus an expected 220. Okay, so that's a decent you know, I hate it when it's like things that are bad but they're good and whatnot. So is that like a beat or a miss? You know, I want to just call it that's a decent beat. But yeah, about 13k or well 11k more than anticipated. That's pretty decent. That's still like a little bit larger of a reaction than I would have anticipated from that. Maybe the light bulb. Well, it was the software that turns the light bulb on and off wanted to update, but it was like it said, oh, we reduced CPU usage, so it's only like 0.5% usage. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that one. So I took this. But when I did that, I didn't realize that I was so close to the news. I was like, oh, I'm like way behind. Okay, let's go to the chart. To the charts. Okay. So you can see we had a pretty decent clawback yesterday, but in the overnight we kind of lifted back up, and then here on this news we're spiking. S&P 500 was pretty meh yesterday, to be honest with you. Just kind of meh, and a little bit lower overnight. Oil taking a bit of a dive yesterday. Not doing much overnight. Gold and silver looking okay. Silver's really jumping on that jobless claims, and then copper's doing okay too. So things in China are maybe on the up. Here we got Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was, I don't know why, but they were selling really hard 2 days ago when the rest of the market rallied. And then yesterday they caught up, and there was a really big buying spree yesterday, which no news that I know of. So the cryptocurrency market continues to be like, okay. And here's the dollar heading down at the moment. Yeah, who knew the news was going to be good? I think I've gotten too much into the mode of like everything's bad, and this definitely looks starting to turn into a market that you just buy all the things, right? I think yesterday was kind of like the typical pullback day, but from here on out, I would expect the S&P 500 to be mildly positive. And you think like, oh wow, like we're up so high for the year anyways, like can we really rally? And oh yeah, we definitely can. I've seen some Decembers that were really wild. Okay, so S&P could continue to go up. Now we do have a little bit more today. Okay, let's see here. So initial jobless claims 231 versus 220, but we also got US Philly Bed Business Index, which was negative, but not as negative as anticipated. Negative 5.9 versus negative 8. We also got US import prices month over month down negative 0.8 versus an expected negative 0.3. Maybe that's why they're moving up. Maybe it's not the jobless claims. I don't know if the import prices are that big of a deal for the treasuries, but we also have Fed's Messer speaking at the moment.
Anybody interested?
Now, and we also have a bunch of, so we got Williams speaking, we got Waller, we got Barr, we got Bank of England's Ramsden, all within our time period. Then there is also some supply coming in the form of 4-week bills. So still a decent amount going on this week. Some of the things overnight that be interesting to note. Biden and Xi had their long-awaited meeting. Biden called Xi a dictator, and I don't think that he was supposed to. You know what I really think happens is Biden's got his handlers, and they really keep a tight lid on him, you know? And Biden doesn't like it. Biden just wants to do his thing. And every once in a while, the real Biden comes out, and he's the savage, right? And so I think that was the real Biden peeking his head like, yeah, no, I think that she is a dictator. I don't want to have this meeting. This is all stupid. That's probably Biden. This isn't your typical December. You can't compare to usual behavior. We are in supply versus demand inflation war, and the winner is clear. We can expect dovish central bank in 2024. I don't know what you say we are in a supply versus demand inflation war, but I mean, I think that the market we're still in an interesting spot in that I don't think that the battle over inflation is over. Or rather, I'm still concerned that inflation is going to come back to 3% instead of 2%. And that there's going to be some of these entrenched measures of inflation that are difficult to get rid of. But right now, where we're at right now, the market's not going to care or look at that. I mean, we're not even really going to get a view on that until sometime next year. Right. So for now, everything is on a trajectory is good, and the market's going to love that. And does kind of suggest that the Federal Reserve is going to pause. I mean, there was a point a couple of weeks ago where we thought, yeah, maybe they will do another December hike, but it's definitely not happening now. And the wild thing about it is, you know, as I've said so many times here, as we're trading, like, when the economy turns down, it can happen so quickly. Okay. Like those that were kind of in the housing market and kind of knew what was going on, knew that a recession was coming in 2008. I don't think that they realized how bad it would get. But for most people, everything was hunky-dory, running along fine. I remember in August buying my bird. Bird was not a cheap expenditure. Okay, like I was pretty dirt poor at the time. Not dirt poor, but you know, I was working almost entry-level jobs. Let's say I was making like $10 to $15 an hour, and so to have had like $1,000 extra to spend on a bird is like really wild to me thinking back on it. And then it was like 2 months, a month or two later, then everything hit. So before that, we had absolutely no clue, right? It can happen so quickly when the economy turns down, you know? And so you might, if it does happen, I think what people will turn around is they'll look at what is happening right now and they're like, how could people be so stupid? Like it was so obvious what was going to happen and everything. And it's like, well, happens fast, guys. It happens fast. So here's the 10-year kind of threatening to breach the high after the news here. And we got a good 10 to 15,000, let's call it 12,000, good 12,000 contracts long in the treasuries. And we're seeing it pretty solidly across the board. I was thinking about 4.6, but I didn't think that I needed to do it at that time, and so I kept talking, and now it's too late. I suppose I could go for the breach as well, but that makes me a little nervous. We'll do it over here on Sim. I don't know if I'm really on today. Yeah, it crumbles like a house of cards. Exactly. Did I miss anything else? No, but good morning, Jiwi, Dom Dom, Alan White, and Mirguya. See, I'm like a little bit late, and you got y'all on time today. I don't see Uzi. I haven't seen Uzi past 2 or 3 days. He must be busy doing housework or something. So somebody, they're talking about TT in Discord, and somebody says they can get it through their college. What? Oh, he is here? Oh, okay. Huh? Really? Your wife got in a car accident on Monday? That's terrible. But she's okay. No permanent damage. Always ask. That's what I'm always asking my kids. There's no permanent damage. Nothing major, but my car was totaled. Ew. Well, that's okay. That means you got to buy a new car. So what kind of a new car are you going to get? You can get one of them fancy, expensive trucks. $100,000 truck. Like you can get, it's like you can get the Corvette or you can get the fancy truck these days, and everybody's getting the truck. See, you'd think, it seems like you just don't see really cool sports cars driving around anymore, that sort of a thing, right? Just not as common. Yeah, it's because they're buying G-Wagons and trucks. Once you realize, oh, the G-Wagon is like $100,000 car. The Cadillac Escalade is like $100,000 car. So then it would be like, oh wow, where are people getting all this effing money?
In a statement.
I already have one of those. Sucks because the wife was driving my car to the office because her truck was in the shop, and we've been 4 days without a car, and it's that's good. Okay, so I think that I was right to be scared of hitting into it here at the top. I'm going to continue to do degenerate stuff over here. I might, now there's 4-6, right? Well, I think I would prefer to see the treasuries normalize and at least get below the stop out zone before I try taking on a position. Needless to say, I haven't been trading because luck is not on my... Yeah. Well, that'll rattle you up. That can definitely affect, like, your decision-making and everything, so... I totally get that. Yeah, when my sister died, we didn't trade for, like, a month or two, right? And now I have to buy a new car, literally. Oh, really? So you're saying that you're not going to get a Corvette? You're going to get like a Corolla? I think when I get a new car, it's going to be a Corolla. Actually, do you know? Here's the problem with cars. There's too many cars. How do you pick a car? Even if you say, oh, I want a sedan. Okay, pick a sedan. There's so many. Assuming that, like, money is not a problem. Thinking about getting a replacement Mustang, hey, that's not... the newer Mustangs ain't bad, yeah. I think I want like a hatchback, like a rally car hatchback sort of a thing. Hasn't really been hard to find a virtually equivalent replacement. Yeah, okay. So I remember when I got divorced, my ex wanted the car. I think, it's kind of weird to think back on that whole thing because she was doing something that I think was very impulsive. She was an impulsive person. That was fun, but it kind of ended badly for me, right? But she was so smart and fair about how we went about the divorce. It was like, I don't have the ability to keep the house, so you can keep the house. and I need a car. And that was the deal that we made. And so I had to go out and buy a car, and I was like, well, I want like an Acura. I want something that's like just a little bit luxurious and has a really good sound system, because I'm probably going to be driving in the car a lot, because I'm going to be driving back to my parents' house a lot more, and that was like a 30-minute drive at the time. So I got the Acura, and I was like, you know, this is a respectable car, because, you know, an Acura is like a luxury Honda, right? That'll impress the ladies, right? My wife, when I met her, she thought that my car was, she didn't know what it was. So she thought that it was a trash car. She thought it was a trashy car. Until one day after, you know, I drive her in it, because usually we'd drive her van around, because, you know, had her kids. You know, then when she actually drove it, she's like, oh, your car is like really, really nice. It's an Acura. I still have it. It's an Acura TL. It's actually really wild to think about that I've had it for almost 9 years now, and I don't think that it's anywhere close to dying out. I do have to so the one thing that's happened on it is there's a light that is a little bit iffy, and replacing the light is like thousands of dollars on a car that I think I could maybe get a few $1,000s for trading in. It's too old now. A new Camry came out the other day. I don't know. Well, the thing I was going to say was apparently Toyota got rid of the Avalon and has replaced it with something new.
500 following the jobless claims.
Kind of want to see what that's about.
That's the S&P in the green now. It's up at 0.15%.
It's called The Crown. Here I'm on their website.
At this Cleveland Fed event. Again, the registration link, if you would like to watch this event live, is attached to Fedsmester's entry into the calendar. And keep in mind, Fedsmester is due to speak again at this event later today. That's at 11.
2024 Camry. The thing is I don't think that I would buy a brand new car like a 2024 or something like that. That'd be dumb. Well, there you go. Oh, that is what it was. So it was a Mustang that she busted. Ooh, I like it though. I'm jelly. You can see all the dog hair in it. I should have done 4.6, huh? I should have done 4.6. I saw 4.6 and I'm like, let's let them come back.
Opening remarks.
And they're not. They just went back up. But you know what? That was really good for like my. We would do it at 250, because remember we lost 250 yesterday. So now that cancels that out. So I think we're cool there. The thing is I'm kind of concerned that the upside might be a little bit capped here. There was definitely like some really strong buying off of the news, and that has kind of peaked. And so, yeah, well, especially when it's something you've had for a long time and everything. So does the Corolla, what is a GR Corolla? Is that the oh wow, it's a turbocharged hatchback. What? They make a Corolla with a turbocharger in it now? What? Okay, but does it have four-wheel drive? That's my thing. I think it needs to have four-wheel drive. Oh, that is, you guys are right, man. That is sporty. That is sport. Why is it not showing me the whole thing? There we go. That is a sporty vehicle. Look, it's got like little things by the wheel wells. It doesn't have scoops on the hood, but that's cool. Ooh, and you can get cool colors. Blue. Should I get blue? Would I get blue or red? Oh, maybe red. Maybe red. Red strikes fear into people. It has GR4 all-wheel drive. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. This, oh, so it's all-wheel drive that allows you to adjust the split between the front and the back. This sounds like my car, man. I think. How much is it? Oh, is it that crazy? 36,000 brand new isn't that bad. Isn't that bad. Oh wait, did they go back? Let's see if I can find some locally. Let's see if I can find some locally. I just want like a rally car. And if it was a Toyota, that'd be even better because Toyotas are real solid cars. Cars. Oh, they come right back to my cost basis. Didn't fill the other contract, huh? I'm a little nervous about adding here. I could add one. They might come back a little bit further this time, though. Like, it would be a little bit too convenient and clean for them to bounce right here at 25. So that one makes me a little bit... That one makes me a little bit suspicious. It's too perfect. Ah, okay. GR Corolla. Search. Must be a really new thing. Oh, you know what? That's just the base model. 36100. That's just the base model. Okay. Only available in 6-speed intelligent manual transmission. Ooh. And then you get the premium, which is front and rear torsion limited slip differentials, red painted front brake calipers, and heated front sport seats in black print knob and synthetic leather trim with a gray stitching. And then there's the circuit edition forged carbon fiber roof, high mounted rear row. Wow, it comes with a rear spoiler. Show me a picture of it. Show me the picture of the spoiler. Like a Focus RS. Dude, it is hyped up. I'm looking at this though, and I'm realizing like I'd have to go down to the dealership to look at one. But I don't think I want to spend $40,000 on a car. Like, what would that be? Car loan calculator. Now, they haven't fallen through there. I kind of want it to come down here, and maybe then I would pick up more. Okay, well, the car loan calculator here is showing me like 5%. I don't think that's what you would get. Here, let's go to the credit union and see. 739. Let's do a 72-month loan. Oh, geez. Yeah. I guess it's not the end of the world. A payment on a loan for a 28K car is greater than what ours was on a 45K truck in 2016. Jeez. I could totally do it, but I think that I would not want to add like another thing right now. Like, I think, when do I finish paying off my van? Maybe I could wait until the van is done and then... And by then, there would be, like, used ones, right? We really did F the world good. Yeah, so, what I was thinking about this morning? I know that this is going to seem like a little bit of a leap, but I guess I think about the Palestine-Israeli conflict a lot. And one of the things that I think about a lot with this whole conflict is how there's so many people are acting like NPCs. Like, they have their like talking points or things that they like to talk about, and they don't shift based on what's going on the ground. So this is how you get all these people that, because I get when it was like 5 years ago, last time that there was hostilities in the Middle East, and that people were claiming that Israel was oppressing Palestine, and that because it was like they would just do airstrikes and then a bunch of civilians would die, and it was kind of like, well, now I think that there was a lot of misinformation, and I think the big thing that I see in politics a lot is that there's so many people out there that think with their heart and don't really understand what's going on, and people like Hamas like really take advantage of that, right? Okay, but as soon as Hamas came in across the border and killed, 1,200 people or so in cold blood in the most horrific way, right? Like that's a pretty big shift. And there was a lot of people on the left. They didn't adjust to what's going on the ground, right? Well, I think it's happening again. So here's the thing that I see changing right now, and it seems like most people haven't realized this yet, and a lot of people are just so stuck in their programming that they're not even, they're not realizing it. Israel won. Israel is winning. So Hamas is not going to exist. Israel is going to move in. They're going to destroy all of the Hamas fighters, and then they're going to occupy Gaza for who knows. I think it will probably be a little bit different from last time. That they get rid of Hamas, and maybe they turn...
fund rate is unchanged.
I think it would be amazing if 10, 20 years from now, you end up going on vacation to Gaza. Like, they could turn it into a nice seaside resort town. That could happen. I know it sounds like crazy and almost even maybe like insensitive to say that. But I honestly think that they could turn Gaza into like a paradise, because there's going to be so much money is going to come into that place now that, after Israel gets rid of Hamas, they're going to rebuild it. It's going to be an amazing thing. You watch and see. But the key thing is Hamas is done for. Israel is already moving in. They've already pretty effectively cut the northern strip off. And Iran is abandoning Hamas. Iran is still kind of saying, "Oh, we didn't know about it," and they're also kind of holding Hezbollah back. So Iran is essentially abandoning Hamas. Why? Because they know that it's up for Hamas. They know that Hamas is done for. Right. And so this is the thing that I'm saying, like, people aren't adjusting based on the facts on the ground. So you got all of these people, and they're all out there talking about how we need to have a ceasefire and all of this sort of stuff. And it's like, no, why? Israel is winning. They're going to destroy Hamas. All a ceasefire is going to do is help the terrorists. They're not going to do it. I mean, they're just not. So you can call for it all you want, but it's just not going to happen. And Israel is going to win. So like, I think this is one of those situations where like the end result is, I think, pretty much determined now at this point. And that's kind of interesting to think about, isn't it? So don't you think that should change? Like, why if that's what is inevitably going to happen, why are you out there protesting for a ceasefire? Shouldn't you be out there now working on, preparing yourself to rebuild Gaza? That's what I think where we're at now. I told you, if Palestine is lucky, Israel will allow 2 casinos and then end lots of space for parking. It's right on the Mediterranean Sea there, right? Like, it's the crazy thing is that they haven't been allowed to have a port because of the blockade and all of that. But if there's not a blockade anymore, they can build a port, they can build stuff on the sea. They'll turn it into a resort town. It'll be crazy. Can you imagine 10, 20 years from now going on vacation to Gaza? Like, what? But that's kind of the crazy stuff that kind of happens, It'd be wild. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of the other way around with the Ukraine situation, right? Like, I'm pretty confident that Ukraine will not claw back all of that territory. At least not anytime soon. Like, it would take a significant amount of money that it doesn't seem like the West is willing to provide right now, and a significant amount of manpower. I don't think that trying to claw back that territory through the defensive positions that Russia has built makes a whole lot of sense right now. So I think that the war in Ukraine basically goes into a standstill, kind of like the Korean War. Could be wrong, but that's kind of where I'm seeing it go right now. And how do we adjust to that? Well, I don't know. It could be interesting to see politics go to a place where there's not. I mean, we're still going to have to give Ukraine money to keep their defenses up and everything, but I guess that would kind of change the conversation in Congress a little bit. I hope you're wrong about Ukraine. Me too. Me too. I mean, I do think they should get all of that territory back, but here's the thing. This is a tough thing to talk about, right? The areas that Russia took over are largely ethnic Russians. I don't buy this argument that, they're taking the areas with Russians in them to protect them from the Nazis and all of this sort of stuff that Putin says. Okay, that's not it. It's a land grab because they believe that they need to have these areas for security reasons, and they'll take it and then hold it in the hopes that at some point in the future they can then launch an attack on Kiev and take over all of Ukraine and install a puppet dictatorship there. That's ultimately what they want, and they'll take over the other Middle Eastern bloc of countries too if we're not vigilant and let them. Would happen for sure. But And so you don't want to let them take that territory. There are some strategic reasons why you don't want to let them have that territory. But there's also kind of more of like this game theory foreign policy sort of a thing, which is, if you let somebody come in, incrementally take a place out, and then de-escalate and let everybody kind of chill out, and then go and brazenly do something again, like you're kind of setting a pattern that is not good for the future, right? So that's why you really shouldn't let a dictator like Putin step into a country and just do that, right? But now that he's already taken over an area and they've created pretty heavy entrenchments and so forth along that line, that is just so difficult and painful to break through, now you kind of have to ask yourselves, like, what do you gain from throwing all these people at that line to take that bit of territory back with people that are kind of a little partial to Russia anyways? You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of people would die for what Russians just throw people at it and hope for an attrition win, losing another generation of Russians. Pick up your rifle. We can crowdfund your trip with new Toyotas. Wait, what? Yeah, before I go and buy a GR Corolla, I should probably, I want to pick up a precision rifle at some point. I don't, I think some of these things that I'm thinking about are probably like 5-year plan sort of things. I don't think that they're like, let's do this for Christmas sort of things. Because the car that I want is come out in 2024. So I would want to wait a few years before, so that I can get it used. And I don't really have the opportunity to be able to go shooting very often. That would be something that I would want to do as a family. And with 2 toddlers right now, I don't know if that makes sense. So I think I would want to wait until they're like 5 years old. What do you mean my logic is based on incorrect premises? So let me take, if we're talking about the Ukraine thing, let me take it from another position, right? Ukraine organized an offensive, threw a lot at it, and didn't really get a whole lot for their effort. So I think you've really got to question, like doing another offensive next spring, what changes? Right? It would only make sense to do it if you were extremely confident that you would break through. And that would mean that you would have to be doing something very different from what the previous offensive was. So I don't think that it could just be like, oh, okay, now we got the military support that we were asking from the West all along. Now we'll be able to do it. I don't think that would do it. I think that you would have to be way more committed than that. And I think that Western countries would have to commit a little bit to some, a little bit to an extent that they're not willing to do. Oh, yeah, I don't think that those provinces are explicitly pro-Russian. It's probably pretty mixed, right? How mixed that is. But I'm just asking, what is it really worth? What is it really worth to you? Are the people there being so oppressed, and it's such a terrible thing for them that we just absolutely have to resolve, take that territory back? I'm not sure I buy that. That would definitely be the case when they were, attacking Kiev and all the stuff that they pushed back about that. But When the SSR fell apart, all UKR provinces voted for independence with over 80% of the votes, with the exception of Crimea, which was 54% pro-independence. Huh. That was after the USSR fell apart, though. What are some of your new killer toys for Christmas? So I guess what I'm saying is, like, when Russia took over Crimea, I didn't see all of these people in Crimea complaining about it. It was kind of like nobody talked about it. You know what I'm saying? Is there like stuff going? Because if there was people that were really, you know, like there was like like if Russia came in and took over a part of the United States, there would just be an insurgency and they would just never end, right? I don't see that in Crimea. Kind of sounds to me like the people in that area are kind of used to being passed around between countries and there being a conflict and trying to keep themselves a little bit detached from it. Maybe they were, I'm probably. That could be a part of it, yeah. I don't know. I didn't mean to say that those people would probably rather be with Russia. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for the area, how much is it really worth to you? Because if it was Kiev, that's worth everything to the Ukrainians, right? Is that territory that important to you? I mean, it was de facto Russian administered as well. The Russian Navy was based in Crimea, so they always had a lot of military and influence, yeah. And they just kind of like moved in before anybody knew what was going on, which was really wild. 80% of the women who left Ukraine have filed for divorce. What, really? Where do you get that from? That sounds like a pretty wild stat.
Germany's Chancellor Scholz says we will have a record.
Donbass is the most resource-rich area in Europe,
even after constitutional court ruling on budget. So again, Scholz saying we'll have a record sum of investments next year.
Okay, so you're saying it's worth it for the resources. Most Ukrainian women I see here in NL, almost all are getting married here. Is there really lithium there? That could maybe change some things for, not for a Seth calculus, but from like a, you know, national level political calculus perspective. That could kind of change things for them. But I think you still kind of have an issue, right? Like, okay, what is the West willing to give up to get that territory back? What is the West willing to give up? I don't think that the West is willing to put any of their soldiers in the line of fire to make it happen, right? And the thing that I see also is, of course, you already know about how Republicans have kind of been pushing back against this, and I think that generally speaking, they've been supportive and they've given money, but there are elements of the party, kind of the fringe elements of the party, that are pushing back against giving any funding to that. Or do we have a piece of news coming here?
Seen the release of US industrial production month over month.
Industrial production
minus 0.6%, lower than forecast.
No volume coming through because of it.
Utilization 78.9%, 78.9%. That's lower than forecast. 79.4%. Manufacturing output of minus 0.7%, minus 0.7%.
Looks like these
lower than forecast. Minus 0.4%.
Industrial production was -0.6 versus -0.4 expected. So Anyways,
prior revisions here. Industrial
so
production
anyways,
power
my
was
point
brought
was
down to 0.10%
there's not
from
the political will in the
0.3%.
United
Capacity
States
utilization
to
revised
really
down
put
to
up enough money to even
79.5%
try.
from 79.7%.
And then the
Manufacturing output
EU
month
has
to
kind
month,
of
the power
been
was revised
dragging
down
their
to
feet as well, right?
0.2% from
This has always been the thing,
0.4%.
though, is that the EU just relies on the United States to do it because the United States is always willing to fund for that. And their people over there in Europe aren't.
So keep in mind now we are less than.
So like if the people of Europe aren't willing to really commit to it, why
The
should
New York
we?
Fed President Williams delivers remarks at the
It's
bank's
kind of a,
2023 money market conference with no indication of a text or a Q&A.
Like,
Live video
I
is
think the
attached to
reality
Williams'
is
entry into the financial news
if
calendar.
the Ukrainians had gotten the degree of support that they had asked for when they had asked for it, maybe they would have broken through and they would have reclaimed that territory. But now I'm concerned that it's too late. I'm Ukrainian, and the problem is we're all very nationalistic. And since 2014, Ukrainians in Crimea said
US industrial production
they are
October report on the
Ukrainians.
feed for anybody
Most
interested.
didn't call themselves Russians, and now they just walk in and take WTV. Yeah. The problem is the normal people are fed up with the amount of support the EU is giving at their expense. Yeah, people have been writing US coattails for a long time regarding defense. I mean, it's a tough thing to talk about, right? Because obviously I don't live in Ukraine. I don't know a whole lot about like the culture and the politics going on like a local level there. So what Mark just shared with us there is very interesting. I just know from like the reports, because I have been reading, generally speaking, like how it's been progressing with the daily war reports and everything. My conclusion is that the Ukrainian offensive was not a complete failure, but ultimately did not achieve its objective, and that it's very questionable whether they will ever be able to claw back that territory without a significant cost, a cost that it seems to me that the West is not willing to pay. And that's not changing anything that Zelensky is saying, but it's kind of, it's kind of this thing that I see all over the place in American politics where it's like, shouldn't you be doing something about this? Like home prices are crazy. Home prices, it's way worse in Canada, obviously, but home prices in the United States are nutso. Why don't you hear any of the politicians talking about this? Shouldn't this be like the top issue for them? Shouldn't this be like the top issue in the next election? They don't talk about it. What's with that? Right? There's all these things where it seems like that's where like the big issue is. What are we going to do about it? And they're not talking about anything. People in the Netherlands have straight up told their local councils they're not paying taxes because it's not being used for them, but being sent outside, and they pay high. Oh, what? Wait. So like you pay taxes to your local city or county or whatever they have over there, and it goes outside of there? Where are they sending it to? That would, if my city taxes were going outside of my city, I would be incredibly upset. Yeah, you know what I think is funny though about this sort of budget thing. So I forget what his name is, but there's this guy on TikTok that is somewhat conservative and is really good at deconstructing certain arguments that are out there. And he talked about the debt, and he showed this thing where it was like, okay, most people agree that the government spends too much. So so then when you go into, okay, do we spend enough on this? Do we spend enough on this? Do we spend enough on defense? Do we spend enough on social security? Right? And the only thing that has overwhelming support to get cut is foreign support. Like when we send money to other countries, that's the only thing that it really has support to cut. And that's like the amount of money that we send relative to the rest of the budget is like super, super small. So like it's a trivial thing, doesn't do anything. Isn't that funny? I see. So you write to the council for everything government related, which is the council's duty to send to the relevant department, and in this case, the finance ministry. So people told that to the councils, who in turn sent it to the finance ministry. I'm also interested with in the Netherlands. Wasn't the whole thing that they were like taking the farms away from people? And like they elected a pretty conservative, there was a pretty strong conservative wave pushing back against that. But it kind of sounds to me like that wasn't enough to completely stop it. So did that just happen and it's over, or is that an issue that's still ongoing? Oh, you were not behind by like 20 minutes? I don't think that YouTube does a very good job of showing you where, because I don't think that YouTube cares. YouTube sees live streaming as just a way to get more screen time on people. I don't think that they're really that into the live nature of it. This is super weird. The government dropped a few seats and is in minority and can't pass the bill, so it's in limbo. The bill that would rescind all of that, basically. So they had a strong victory in the elections, but it wasn't quite strong enough. Because I'm really concerned about that stuff. I guess that's not like something that triggers me and I think about every day, but like, you know, beef prices in the United States are up, for instance. You know, I'm seeing like attacks on our food supply that are pretty wild. Pretty wild. So that's actually good. The bill that will allow them to buy and close down the farms is in limbo. Okay. So they've stopped it for now, but it's not over. That's better. That makes me feel better about that. Really is a little infuriating to me. Like, I'm not against the environment. I'm kind of agnostic on the whole global warming thing. Like, my perspective is, okay, well, if the world is really going to end, then you should be able to make a lot of money off that. I don't understand why we have to have the government come in and subsidize all of the energy in order to make that happen. Because if that's really what needs to happen, they'll do it on its own. The fact that private industry does not want to do it on its own suggests that there's a really big problem with the solutions the government is trying to push us into. And just like we suspected, once again, Biden's put tons of money into this green energy stuff, and it looks like it's not going anywhere. You know? So, I really feel that the green lobby has kind of overstepped. Like, even if we believe all of the science, and like I said, I'm agnostic on it, but we just take all of that at face value, they're going well beyond what the science says and making proposals and trying to take over things that are not justified by the problem at hand. And I'm, you know, like, we don't need to make eating beef expensive for everybody. That just does not making sense. Okay, by the way, what were you asking yesterday about doing top? Okay, so my question was,
Williams, who does not comment on monetary policy or the economic
what
outlook.
if
However,
we
does
got
see a need
the
for
the
more
most
data transparency.
the most expensive
Again,
top
Williams
step
not
combine?
commenting on monetary
So like the
policy,
300,000
the
combine,
release.
and then traded Sofers. Do you think that it's possible to get funded through Top Step trading Sofers? I don't even know if they allow you to trade that contract, but let's just assume that they did. Okay. Do you think it would be possible to get funded doing that? Yeah, there you go. The problem with the whole climate cult is they aren't proposing any solutions, but just tax everything or destroy the current standards of living. Yes. Well, that's part of it. I think that they are proposing some solutions, but the solutions that they are proposing were not thought through very well and are turning out to have significant flaws. Okay, how much do you need to make and in what time frame? Good question. Let's... Shall we do a little bit of research? We're coming down more, so I think I was right about that. Oh, I don't think I want to add more. Oh, I thought that there was like 100. Oh, there's got to be bigger ones. Did they just get rid of the largest ones? 150k buying power. Oh, they must have some sale on right now or something. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so the profit target is $9,000. Now, there's no time limit on them, but let's just say that we want to do it in less than 3 months. So $9,000 in less than 3 months from SOFR futures. Next thing would be... what does maximum position size mean? How many contracts are we allowed to trade? Is it even... Yeah, it's not even listed. 2 5s, 10s, 30s, ultras, euro dollar. Oh, so they don't have SOFR listed, but they do have euro dollar. So let's just assume that we talk them into it. Nothing below a 300k account to even take baby. Well, yeah, I wouldn't, you know, the buying power thing on there isn't really very accurate, you know what I mean? 15 contracts is the real issue. So with 15 GE contracts, do you think that you could make $9,000 in 3 months? You probably could do it in a week. Wait, really? It depends on very heavily on how volatile markets are. So, and I'm not asking like if I go and I do something like super degenerate and get lucky and that sort of thing. I'm saying if I do like the most conservative thing I can possibly do, and I'm just looking to like make the risk-free rate of return, do you think that you could get funded? Like is there a strategy to do this that's like
to the sell side?
super
open imbalance 100
consistent
to sell?
In normal volatility, it would take about 3 months. But that's why it interested in me, because I look at SOFR and euro dollar and things like that as like there are ways to trade that are so conservative that you almost can't even call it trading, you know? I suppose to really do that sort of stuff, though, you would need to be able to use more than just a futures on. You would be able to need to also have a cash position. Yeah, there you go. 15 contracts is something. I know, like the position sizing that they give you is like silly. Okay, so we got a decent bounce there. Yeah, that's just on the futures account. Gotcha. I think it would be really cool and interesting to see somebody pass the combine with just SOFR contracts. I'm gonna bet you that it's never happened before. So if you could pass it, just passing it would be cool. But I also wonder, you know, what would be the simplest, most consistent way of passing the combine? Well, actually, I'd have to give it more qualifiers than that, because I think that the easiest, most consistent way of passing the combine is to go and trade equity index futures with price action setups and use a tilted risk reward. And you only need like 2 or 3 good days, and you can get funded using that, right? You saw a guy pass Apex using ZT, really? Well, that's not bad. That would be a pretty close to doing it with euro-dollar contracts. But anyways, these ones that I know you can kind of pass the combine, and I see people pass the combines with, you don't keep it, right? They don't continue to, they usually lose it within a few months. So I'm wondering, is there something you can do that is just like really stupid, low risk sort of a thing that they just haven't looked at well enough that you can size up larger than they actually anticipate and get past, you know? Especially if it was something that you could program, or maybe it requires a certain amount of analysis, but you could have a newsletter for, or something like that. I just think that it would be really funny for there to all of a sudden be this decent sized group of short-term interest rate traders that are funded traders. Yeah, you're probably right. The biggest problem with using STRs is you need the ability to hold during the overnight. Yeah, because a lot of the activity over there is during the European session, huh? And you have this similar problems to like what I have here in the treasuries, where it's like I'll sit here and wait like yesterday. Oh my gosh. So yesterday, that trade was so stubborn. And you know what happened to me? As I held it for a little bit longer, and then I was ready to scratch it. So I put my contract out to scratch it. And as soon as I put my order out there, people started unwinding positions after the European close, and they slumped back down. So I had to take the 10 tick loss on it after holding it for like an hour and a half. Oh, it was so heartbreaking. Only $10, but my goodness. My goodness. I kind of wonder here on this one, because I think I could have gotten 4.7. They're kind of like right at that stop out zone again. Oil is falling really hard right now. What's with that? Guess they didn't like those import prices numbers. But I see a pretty strong dollar correlation here again.
So Alibaba extends decline to 10% after Nixon Cloud spinoff.
Yes, and volume, well, it was to the downside here. I think the volume is a little bit mixed here in the treasuries. So I think that I could potentially take a trade, but I don't know if I have a really strong meta order supporting us. And so I think that I can continue to nurse this this sim trade, but I don't think I want to unlock my account here. So I'll turn that off. Most dislocations happen during the Asian session. They use the near benchmark ones to make positions on those, so the benchmark tenors get dislocated from the curve. Near the New York opens, the nearby tenors are used to arb it away and when liquidity comes in. TLT heading up towards max pain 90 calls. When you're carrying the position the next day, you need the ability to hold one leg of the trade to be out of whack until liquidity comes back. So the interesting thing about all of the 90 calls, so you have to think about the premium too. But the people that bought those were buying them at like 10 cents, right? So it would only need to be 90-10 for them to be in the money. But I think that we probably closed the week like right around 90, and then those market makers, they collect all of the premium. It should have been, if I was in on that trade, I would have sold the option right as everything was spiking, right? Your combines might just use the MTM to close you out, and then liquidity comes back and the position is back to where it should be, but you are out. Yeah. Anything. So let's approach this a different way. Creative and or amusing ways to pass combines. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. I actually have a couple of algorithms that if I thought the S&P 500 was on actually probably going into the end of the year, we could probably pull it off. But a couple of algorithms that, as long as the S&P 500 is in an uptrend, would probably pass. But I wouldn't expect them to be able to continue to trade the combine for very long. Like the first time that there's a bad market, it's just going to... Just see what oil is doing in Asia. So we could take this a different direction, right? Amusing things that you could do, and as long as this strategy is break even, right? Just see what oil is doing in Asia. Take a directional trade when New York opens, and one trade you'll pass like a month and two. Oh yeah, totally. I don't really want to pass that. But you know, the funny thing is that if I did this and I passed the combine, I don't think I would actually want to become a funded trader. Because then I would have to like pay the professional fee and continue trading that account and all that sort of stuff. I'm much happier just trading my own account really small. But what I want to do is I want to shake things up a bit. Like I would love to do something where it's like, do something really stupid or extremely unconventional and pass the combine doing it, and then put it out there and then see all of these people try and do it. You know? But like my idea is like, okay, so you come in and you trade SOFRs with it, and then you pass the combine. And then do they look at that and they go, oh, maybe we need to change some things? You know what I mean? Like that's, I would want to, if I was going to do something like that, I would want it to be something that like maybe they consider changing the rules because they don't like the strategy, or, you know, it in some way it shakes up the funded trader space, right? And I kind of feel like that if you had like, if you were able to pass with some super low risk strategy, that was kind of stupid, then, you know, while everybody else is passing it with index futures, that would be kind of funny. Yeah, maybe a strategy, but I don't know how that works with Top Step. I think that you just can't hold overnight, but you can still come in at the start of the regular session, can't you? Or is it maybe you can only trade during the regular sessions, I think. Yeah, honestly, I think if you try putting an SR3 trade, they will just throw an error. Yeah, probably. Probably. Well, that would be the first part of it, it would be sending them an email saying, hey, how come I can't trade SR3? And see how they react to that first. I think, you know. So, oh, okay. I'm allowed to risk all of my money on full ES contracts, but I can't trade SR3. Okay. Okay. Sounds kind of dumb, but okay. I was hoping that they were going to come back down out of this little space again and give us another shot at it, but they're just like dead in here now. So I'm not too hopeful about other flows coming in and giving us a trade. When you had the ability to hold overnight, that's, yeah, I get you. Yeah, there was, so I remember this one time. I don't remember what the question that we were asking, but it was basically like, it had something to do with how often do you have a move of X amount in a single bar or something like that. And I was like, it rarely ever happens, if ever, on ZN. And actually was like, no, it happens all the time. I know it happens all the time. I was like, no, that makes zero sense. Well, a couple of months later, I was doing some sort of an analysis on this sort of a thing to like try and find how many moves like that had happened. And what I found was the market does it a ton at the open. Like at the extended session open, it happens almost every time. I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, oh, the reason why Akshay is saying that is because he's holding positions through the overnight and then like taking profits as that happens. You think they'll simply tell you that the instrument's not listed and that's the end of it? But why would they have GE listed and not SR3 when SR3 is meant to replace GE? See, it's something that, given the rules of the Combine and everything else about their business, they should do, but I think they probably wouldn't do, or they wouldn't want to do, or they haven't done yet, right? Like, I bet you that nobody has ever asked them, how come I can't trade SR3, right? I think that, so that alone makes it kind of amusing. No. They have it listed as $0 futures, but... And they probably have it listed because one time this one guy wanted to trade $0 futures, right? Maybe they passed, maybe they didn't. Who knows? You know? Yeah, no, actually, you know what? I think that if I'm going to experiment with different kinds of strategies, that the kind of strategy I should be experimenting with is a swing position in the yield curve. If they are charging you professional fees, then CME mandates that you provide the instrument at least the data. Well, there you go. So we probably could convince them. Yeah, it's not really the combine company that offers the evaluations, though. They provide what you will meet at the prop shop. But yeah, it kind of has a little bit to do with the data provider. So it's my understanding is that whether you're using Rhythmic or CQG there, that basically what happens is you get put on a slightly different server that is essentially the same as the Rhythmic demo server. Yeah, I should go and I should find there's got to be hedge funds and stuff that are just about trading the yield curve, and they have some sort of long-term strategy that's based purely on the yield curve, right? And then we take that strategy and we adjust it to using it in micros and trade it in micros, and I think that would be interesting. Gonna do a combine under the name Joe Biden and call and complain about there being no applesauce futures. Oh man. Like the bigger thing here though is like I want to mess with people a little bit. And when I say mess with people, like I want people to question the entire community paradigm that has been set up, right? Because the whole paradigm that has been set up that people seem to believe is that passing the combine is the de facto standard of successful performance for a trader, right? And that if you pass the combine, then you're a profitable trader now. And that's what everybody should be working towards. And the reality is that the targets and stuff that they're asking for are quite silly, and you basically are taking extreme risks and doing degenerate things to meet them. And so a lot of people, by striving to pass the combine, are actually kind of hurting themselves because they should probably be taking less risk, not more. And so really the reality is the combine is kind of set up to make money from people failing it. I don't think that if they took all of the profits from people taking the combine and they gave all of those up and they only made money from the funded traders trading, I don't think that they would make money. I really don't, because I don't think that funded traders stay funded long enough for them to really make money from it. So anything that you could do to come in and like trade a combine and screw them up, I think would be worthwhile. Like if you can come in and do a strategy that they're not anticipating, and then you get funded and they say, well, we'll let you this one time, but we don't actually want people passing the combine in this manner, right? And then when they would do that, it would make everybody go like, wait a second. But if it works and it passes a combine, why wouldn't they want more people to do it? Right? Like there was one way of doing this that came out at the very beginning, and that was to just take a YOLO trade and make a really big winner on news and pass the combine that way. That's why they introduced consistency rules, right? So anything that you could do that would force them to add more rules to the combine, I would be interested in doing. I don't think, well, okay, the company makes money, but I'm saying I don't think that they make money from the funded traders. And I don't actually feel like that you do get skin in the game. I mean, like, $150, is that really skin in the game? I think that if you want to get people with, have people put skin in the game, that they should do it with their own live accounts. Well, don't you get to be a degenerate with like 15 ES or NQs for like $150? Yeah. Like seriously, that combine, that larger one that they have right now, 15 contracts on ES. I only need to make $9,000. Really? Yeah, do it on NQ. Like, basically, all you've got to do is wait around for a time period where you know the flows are going to be positive, and then just buy the dip, right? Like, we could have done it here today. Bought it on the open. You'd be up 22 points, right? And it's basically $50 per point. $500. $500 for 10 points. So let's say 750 times 15 contracts. 750 times 15 contracts. Oh, you pass the combine right there. That's 11,500. You would pass the combine right there. So if you were the sniper and you just, now I don't think that you're allowed to do it like all in one day, right? But if you just play the sniper, get 5 points on max contracts, and do it in a period where you know that the S&P 500 is on the upswing, you probably would get funded. Yes. This was the same, like Daniel Inskeep, he got funded, but it all came from 3 days. Like, he traded a long time and he struggled, and then he restarted the combine and he got it in 3 days. So I wouldn't have a lot of confidence on him holding the like continuing to be funded. But so that's the next big question that I have is, when Daniel Inskeep loses the funded account, will he come back and make a video about that? How do you know the flow will be positive? Good question. Okay, so there are things that we can look at. For instance, there are certain times of the month where funds have to rebalance. There's certain macroeconomic factors that go on, like, for instance, interest rates falling here has been supportive to the S&P 500. There's also things with the time of year. So right now, you're actually getting a pretty good one, which is that the balance of flows going into the end of the year, so November and December, tend to be positive. And because the market is rallying on the interest rates declining here, you know, with interest rates below 4.5, pretty likely that over the next 2 months that the S&P 500 will gain. And that's probably going to continue through unless something happens like Jerome Powell comes out with a really aggressive hawkish statement saying, we're not done, and you guys are reducing interest rates too much, and we need the interest rates to be back up near 5% or something like that, right? That could kill it, or some sort of risk event happens. Okay, but all other things being equal, S&P 500 is likely to gain in the next 2 months. So yes, if you're doing a combine in ES, I think in the next 2 months you're pretty likely to be able to pass it. And that's the whole thing, is that all these people, they'll pass it when the markets are doing really well, and then the volatility will come in. A bear market will come in, and that just all get destroyed. And see, my whole thing, because I think a lot of people that go from the perspective of, well, yeah, but you still got funded. But I'm like, listen, if you go and you trade and you make money every day for 2 years, and then one day you just completely blow all of your profits and blow the account, then what you really did was you wasted 2 years, right? Most people, I'm not going to say most people, but the thing that I see from people online is like, well, yeah, but you were a profitable trader for 2 years. No, you were just wasting time, because ultimately the strategy didn't work. You blew it all in one moment. Like your human mind will tell you that was just a mistake. Like that was just one bad trade, one bad day within 2 years. I should be able to go back, start trading the strategy again, and that, just next time that happens, I won't fall into the trap, and then I'll be a profitable trader, right? But the reality is that the strategy is prone to doing that. Strategy is prone to doing that, and eventually you will get this outlier time period where the strategy just sucks. So you're just wasting time. And the issue is like, if it takes you 2 years to figure out the problem with your strategy, then you don't really get a whole lot of opportunities to figure it out, do you? That's why I would much prefer to have something where you have a little bit of variance, but you're just consistently, and you don't have to take on excessive risk to do it. You learned, but did you actually learn something from it? Because I think that if you're doing trading price action, I don't think that you actually learned anything from it. If anything, you learned something bad. You learned something bad, and these people do not understand the statistics and everything behind it to realize that they don't know anything. They're just being fooled by randomness, right? You always get ads for brokers when you enter the... Well, okay. Wait, which brokers? Like, I hope it's not cryptocurrency brokers. I hate that crap. But, if it's like, if Fidelity is advertising on my stream, then... Ooh, yeah. That'd be great. I like Fidelity. You assume that people only truly want, well, but I don't think that they just want to make money. I like, the thing that I care about is, do you actually have a good strategy? Like, I don't.
Index 34, lower than forecast of 40.
Like my issue is that people will say, look, price action works. The market, all of these explanations for how the market moves based on price action, that somebody's made money or passed a combine from it, that proves that it works. And it doesn't. The way that they're making money is they're taking on excessive risk. And the profits that they're getting have to do with like the stops and the times that they're trading, and not any kind of inherent behavior in the market. And so the entire premise of their strategy is wrong. They've been fooled by randomness, and then they go and they trade that for 2 years. They blow the account. They they explain it away. They don't realize that they really just were never profitable. They were always trading a strategy that was fundamentally flawed, and they don't realize it. And instead, they just turn around and they say, "Oh, I was a profitable trader for 2 years, and you can learn from me now." And right, sell a course. I think most people are in the markets to scratch a gambling itch. That could be.
So noting oil futures quickly extending losses as Brent and US crude down by $3 a barrel now. As we did look earlier, no headline.
And I think that's one of the things that kind of has led to me not going down those same paths that most people do.
Increase added to.
I mean, I think a part of it was that
steady supplies
during the period that it was like you don't know anything and you're just trying things out. I wasn't allowed to actually trade live, so I was basically forced to be on sim for a really long time.
Causing some weakness in the oil market at the moment.
But
again, no immediate headline.
I hate the anxiety about. I think that some people can get addicted to the anxiety, but I've had enough experiences with relationships and stuff where I was feeling like that, where I've come to just absolutely hate and despise the feeling and what it does to you. So like that trade yesterday, I mean, I guess this isn't a huge deal because it was like $10, but I hated it. I was absolutely miserable sitting in that thing, knowing that I'm probably going to be able to break even, but I might have to stop out at minus 10. And it being so stubborn for so long and sitting in that state for so long, I hate it. I just hate it. And that's not what interests me. What interests me is the constant evolving nature of it, the amount of things that there is to know, that you can come in and dive and learn and just learn and learn all day and never stop, right? Like basically I am looking for that kind of like extra dopamine boost sort of a thing, and even if you're not trading it, the market is a never-ending source of that. And so coming in and learning about different kind of hedge fund strategies and ways of doing things in the market, that's kind of what interests me. That's why I was kind of saying, well, I wonder if there are some really risk-adverse yield curve trades kind of strategies that you could trade on micros. And yeah, you'd probably like sit in a position all year and make $50, but I still think that it would be really interesting to see how that works and learn how how you have to manage that sort of a thing, right? Your statement just reminded me why I left my job. Oh, what's that? I don't know if I would have done very well in the pits. No. Yeah, I don't. I mean, so number one, I'm told that the pits, that being large in stature is a big advantage in this pits, and I'm not large in stature. So I think I would be a little bit at a disadvantage on that. Anyways, I don't think that I get this like positive high from the risk-taking nature of it, like some people might. And part of that is because I'm just like really hate the feeling of anxiety, and part of that is being battered around enough times, right? I've been battered around enough times that I know that like taking the big risk trade, it feels good if it works, but it feels absolutely terrible if it doesn't. And so I just don't even bother with those. I feel kind of bad for ignoring this because the reason I didn't get in over here with the live account was for a pretty dumb reason, right? I wanted it to go lower. When they were going just sideways at 23.5, I probably could have justified a trade there. But you see, this is that whole thing is that, like, I think I talk myself out of a lot of trades just because I'm scared. Sell your house, buy all the stocks in the S&P in a correct proportion, and sell ES and make risk. There you go. You should have more than 23 viewers? Maybe. Maybe you forgot to give away goodies and ask everything. Is that how they do it? I don't know. So there are some YouTube streams out there where, like, they don't even say anything. They just have a chart on the screen and they have like thousands of viewers. And I'm like, how do they do this? How do they do that? I don't get it. It's so bizarre to me that I can have like the same group of 24 people or so come in every day, and like the YouTube algorithm never pick up on that and push the stream out. Yeah, maybe it's because I don't have a large neon sign saying make 2000% every week. Maybe I'm just throttled. Maybe I said too many unapproved things during COVID or something, and I've been throttled. I don't know. I guess ultimately, though, it doesn't really matter because I'm pretty happy with the size of the community that we have, right? That's probably like the fear of growth talking there, you know? If we got a lot bigger, I would have to change a lot of things, and it would be rough. Yep, and we don't have to deal with tons of morons coming in. I mean, I think that's like one of the big things. Like when the GameStop thing was going on, you know, trying to explain to people what the reality of the markets was and how we know all of that was very difficult to get them to understand and buy into it. I mean, you go on Reddit, and I post stuff about this on Reddit all the time when people are asking the right questions, and I always get these people that fight me really hard on it, even though it's a very empirically backed, well-proven set of ideas. So it's just because people have invested themselves in this idea that I just need to find this pattern and then I can trade that forever and make money. And it just doesn't work that way. So, with the 10-year here, do we think that they will be able to extend far beyond 28? There is a big order at 29, which is a little interesting. And there's 109 even up there that might be an interesting spot as well. Right now, I'm seeing that we are getting a very gentle meta order long here. I think that this is mostly, again, correlation with the dollar. The dollar has been dropping here for most of the session since the S&P 500 opened, essentially. So that doesn't really put me in a very good setup for a live trade, but we can continue to manage this. We might get that one contract there filled. Octavius says, TLT says yes. See, you use big words like empirical. That's why no viewers just tell us up or down. YOLO long S&P 500 futures. Let's do it. Huge stop. You know, we haven't messed with SPOOs for a while. Why the hell not? Order column. I'll resize that. Put that right there. And make sure I have my little thing over here so that I'm set up right. And we're gonna buy. Should we do 50? No, let's do 3. 1, 2, 3. And do we want to make 10 points? And what should we put our stop at? Like 40. Like, so we'll put our stop right here. By now there was cell absorption and then only below one cell contract went. On it went from the VWAP. Yeah. I think the S&P could continue to middle around here a little bit more.
Session lows now as oil extends its slide.
Oh, is it oil that's driving this? Well, I just heard my news quack talk about interest rates, and they're saying, you know, that rates have dropped here again as oil continues its slide. And I'm like, So it looks to me like it's more the dollar that's driving this, but yeah, the oil has just been getting killed today for whatever. Is that the FJ? Oh, did you hear that, huh? Yeah. Hold on. That's aux input, and I need it to be this one. There we go. You shouldn't have said anything, Lucas. When will you guys learn? Oh, here's the treasuries going. Nope, not quite. Not quite. Almost. Almost. I actually think I want to cancel that. I mean, that would have gotten filled, but I canceled it. But yeah, what do you think the chances are that they hit 29 there? Dumb. There's still a delay between your stream and our screen, so that, yeah, it's true. But what if you were also paying for the financial juice thing, and then you hear it, and then you hear it on my stream 5 seconds later? That'd be really annoying, right? So just you got to remember, 29 was where there's big size. Okay, here they are. You going to trade through it? And they're nibbling at it. So it didn't pull after being nibbled at, which is good, but I wouldn't expect an order like that to pull. It's been there all day. You could undersell their... Wait, what do you mean by that? By undersell? You could resell their product. Oh, Yeah. If you pay extra for the stream, then I'll let you hear the new squawk. There you go. No, that you know what's funny? Okay, so 37.75. I want to hold it. So there was 4,500 contracts. They did not trade 4,500 contracts. Pretty aggressive order flow as they took it. No sign of the liquidity being strained yet. So I do want to take profits around here somewhere. If they fall back and start kind of doing their little thingy, then I might take one off. TLT option, lives matter. What's the largest sector in the S&P 500? Technology? I mean, surely right now it must be, by market cap, it must be technology, right? It'd have to be. Because all of the stocks that are basically up are all technology companies. Okay. Okay, so take one there. Spoo's kind of not really cooperating. I should have done the ZS in a different account though. Oh well. Next time I'll do it on an experiment. Technology is the largest, and what's even funnier is that Apple and Microsoft make up roughly 9% of the total value. The whole thing is just a little bonkers, right? Like, how long can that go on for? Very long. Could go on forever, really. Like what we know about order flow says, it could go on forever. But I don't think it's like necessarily like a good thing for the economy that that's the case right now, is I guess my point. They make up 14%, really. Eastman Kodak and Xerox were combined 16% in the 70s. Yeah, one of the scary things about the stock market, this is okay, so like investing in individual stocks is both more risky and less risky than people realize and people say. So I say it is less risky than people say because you've got all of these investment advisors out there basically saying there's no point in buying individual stocks. Just put it in an index fund and let somebody else manage it for you. Well, you probably will perform better by just putting it in an index fund. And especially if you were going to like really actively manage the money. But if you buy and hold individual stocks, worst case scenario, you underperform the market by a little bit. So like what you're missing out on is not that huge of a deal. And as long as you're not doing that with like your retirement money, it's totally fine. It's a great hobby. And the thing is that the upside on doing that is insane, right? Because yeah, there's a pretty good chance that you might underperform the S&P 500 by a few points. But if you catch the right stock, you're going to like 20x your money. So it is worth it, you know? But on the other hand, what is the risk that they don't tell you about or that people don't realize is that most stocks get delisted. right? Like most companies that become public companies eventually falter and become delisted. And what usually happens is when the stock is on the news and everybody's talking about it, that's when it's like the most popular. And then ever after that, it's never does as well and it just kind of collapses. So there are risks. By the most basic industries like GIS or ADM, if you're just buying and sitting and not bothering about. No, I wanna pick stocks. I think picking stocks is fun. And I kind of like a top-down, bottom-up approach. So you say, okay, what industries do I anticipate to be the most successful over the next year or two based on the current trajectory of interest rates? And then from those industries, then I go bottom up and I pick companies that are the best of the breed. So I guess that's really kind of top down, but you don't just pick the one based on like some technical metrics and stuff like that, which is what I think some people do when they're doing a top down approach. So it's top down and then you go bottom up. Yep, that's why IT is outperforming AI is just buying AI. But Nvidia has been on a tear, right? Should have bought it when it was back down because the amount of gain that she got on Nvidia is pretty darned impressive, right? Nah, I always hate getting in on the popular thing though. I think at some point, be a little bit more established and comfortable with where I'm at, and I would like to put $1,000 at risk in a stock a month, something like that. Strip moving together again. Well, I got a pretty good exit there with 29.5, didn't I? When was that last order at? Let me come in and look at just my orders and look at it that way. It was at 29. So it wasn't quite the best. I'm almost kind of tempted to buy the rates here now, but I'm really tempted to buy 45.20 again. But I think I should be, what would we say? I think I should be strict about how many contracts. I'm going to limit myself to 3 right now. So if they fill me at 45.22 there, I can get it. I'll put another order there at 20 to get in again. Okay. So apparently we're going to get Feds Waller in a bit. Spoos are looking not too bad. And treasuries are coming back off there. The issue is, again, here in the treasuries, okay, pullback. Dollar is not changing. Dollar just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. And look at the 6J. The 6J is really getting strong here today. In fact, that might justify me going over to a daily chart. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they're retracing the down move from yesterday in the Japanese yen. That's interesting. But they could bust out here at some point. And that would be like a very different dynamic. If the Japanese yen is on a long-term rally, that's going to really shift the market. And it would probably be very positive for stocks, right? Because that would mean dollar down, and stocks tend to rise when the dollar is down. See, like this trade right here, in the E-mini, there's like no technicals involved in this at all. I mean, I guess I'm seeing the down, but I didn't make some decision based on what I was seeing, based on the liquidity or anything like that. I am merely making the bet that the S&P 500 is going to be mildly positive for the next 2 months, and that's it. And I just want to buy wherever it was at. Wherever it was at, I buy. And that's it. And I put my stop like way down there so that, you know, like something would really have to go wrong for me for that to get hit. And that's it. So how am I making money? Well, I have an informational edge, I think, and I'm taking on big risk because it'll be about $300 lost if they hit that. Well, treasuries are kind of still hanging out up there. I think that they may make another push up to 109 even. So you're more fundamental analysis versus technical? Yes and no, because I think that kind of paradigm is not really very useful to us, right? Because the way that this paradigm came about was they said, well, there are people that invest based on fundamentals, right? You're going into a stock and you look at the company and you say, this is a good company, and you invest, and that's fundamentals. And then they said everything that's not fundamentals is technical, is the paradigm that they did it, right? The paradigm that I use is orders move markets. So I want to know things that will predict future orders. So knowing that the S&P 500 is likely to be on an upturn until the end of the year is not really a classical fundamental trade bet. Because I'm not saying like the economy is good because of X, Y, and Z reasons, and that means that earnings will be this, and so the S&P 500 should rise here. So it's not like a traditional fundamental trade. In fact, it's kind of a technical trade to some extent, because what I'm saying is like people are going to chase performance into the end of the year. The macro fundamentals are all kind of moving in favor of the S&P 500. So you know that the orders are going to come in that they're going to buy. So it's kind of technical and it's kind of fundamental, but I don't even make that distinction. I'm just, what do I know that will predict future orders is all that I care about. But when I think about technical analysis, I generally consider technical analysis to be like, I see a pattern in the price, and then I use that as an entry condition, right? When I see this pattern, then I get in. Or you do it with order flow. When I see this pattern in order flow, then I get in. And I don't do that. So here, I don't care about the price, the specific spot, or anything at all. I just want to get in. Because I know that it's going to go up, and I know that it's unlikely to go this far back, and that's it. That's all I care about. No technicals, no TA at all. And I would say that on intraday basis, technical analysis is completely useless. Completely useless. Even on the S&P 500. Like, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of these people, they've been like trading price action and passing combines with it. And they say, see, look, this proves that this thing works. And what I'm showing you is it has nothing to do with any of the things that they claim it is. It's entirely risk based, right? They're taking tiny little profits and taking on it. If this was just all of a sudden collapse, I'd lose $300. But that's very unlikely to happen, right? Like I've been able to build my position out a little bit. This sort of a thing. Take some sequential profits. So like my average loser is probably going to be a lot bigger than my average winner. Unless I really get my winners to run. So it's degenerate. But I can totally take on a ton of risk because I'm very, very confident in the edge that I have that the orders are going to be long. Yeah, I agree. There's no way you can look at candlesticks mainly and make sustainable money because of patterns. Yeah. They're mostly they're taking excessive risk and don't realize that that's where the profits are coming from. On every trade I made today, price came at least 3 times to my take profit level and then bounced back. Oh, really? I'm a little frustrated with the treasury here because I probably could have made $30. But I was too well, this rally that we've had here in the treasuries and the dollar kind of like that was definitely unexpected for me. I kind of didn't take it because while I saw like a good opportunity in that area, I did not see okay, so what happened there? That one did not get filled. But that means that I can take this again. Anyways, so when they were at 23, I was kind of like, well, this market kind of looks directionless and dead. And then the dollar, and then as soon as the E-mini opened, the dollar just kept going and going and going. So I missed it, but I guess that's one that I'm okay with. I guess I feel a little bit miffed about that one because I did think about taking it and I talked myself out of it. And probably my reasons for not getting into it were good, but who's texting me this early in the day? No, okay, just spam. You know, to the comment that the dollar looks sad. I mean, yeah, but I don't typically think of the dollar when the dollar is declining as the dollar's sad, you know, because the dollar being sad makes everybody else happy, right? But the other thing is that, you know, like anything other over 100 for the dollar is kind of high, in my opinion. Anything over 100 is high. It's been wild that the dollar got as high as it did and has stayed here for so long. Because before, we thought that like the dollar was just going to collapse and we'd never see a dollar over 100 ever again. You know? It's just that 100 just kind of seems to be like a pretty critical level historically that, you know, they're only above 100 when like things aren't going well, when people are scared, you know. And at the beginning of 2021, everybody was short the dollar. Everybody was short, and then it rallied like insane and got to like 105, 108. It's crazy. Well, for sure, yeah. 100 was the base they used as they stood in 1971. Yeah. Yeah, but given how the dollar depreciates over time, it's pretty wild to see it, like, right? I don't know, is 20 points stop not big enough for this market? Them are trying to embarrass me today, huh? Oh, so are you saying other currencies don't depreciate? I always thought that the dollar was depreciating more than other countries. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know why we're selling off, but you know, it could just be random. There's a lot of randomness to it. I kind of the issue that I've got here, with doing what I'm doing, right? And like I said, it's a DJ. I wouldn't take this trade, okay? Like, don't look at this and be like, oh, Seth is taking this, I should go long. All right. E-mini is not my thing. Okay, but what I'm doing is I'm basically taking information that makes a really great swing trade and turning it into an intraday trade, right? And that means that yeah, I could get some bad excursions against me. Things could go wrong here. Yeah. Kind of looks to me... Well, actually, I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. I mean, the dollar bounced a little bit, but nothing too crazy. But that seems to have brought the treasuries back considerably for some reason. And I'm not seeing it in the dollar or anything else like that. Maybe it's just because the oil has maybe found a floor. I don't know. But yeah, like within the S&P 500, I think we're still kind of within the margin of error, right? If they just go and straight down touch my 4,500, then I'm kind of be like, okay, I think I made a mistake and made this a little bit too simple. You might be right. The U.S. is bigger, stronger, and in my opinion, dollar should be higher given how the 6 countries in the dollar are doing. Yeah, but don't you still think that compared to how we viewed the market at the beginning of 2021 when everybody was going short the dollar, that anything above 100 is high? Like anything above 100 is basically like, I never anticipated that it would be like this. But who knows? They were getting a little bit of a rally there, but not quite. It's hard for me to tell. And over here in the treasuries, I can kind of tell when it's like they're moving up, they're moving up, they're moving up, and then you get like this one down tick, and I just know that it's like, okay, that's like the end of the move, and I take my profits. It doesn't always work out. Certainly doesn't work out for entries, but for exits, I've been pretty good with that. In the E-mini, I can't. It doesn't work. He actually says no. Okay, well. I kind of feel that the dollar has been high. To take it to 140, it might be high over there. Okay. Well, I just feel that like if interest rates are going to normalize, that we should probably get back below 100. And I'm not really concerned. Like, let's take it the opposite way, because that wasn't really the point that I was trying to make, right? The trade that I was trying to make, or the point that I was trying to make was that I don't think that the dollar is selling so hard that like people are freaking out and getting concerned until it's like, well, maybe even below 90. Of course, it would maybe have a lot to do with like how quickly it happens, right? But I'm anticipating that in the next 12 months that we will probably see the dollar below 100 unless, you know, this market falls apart. Right. We go going into recession, or we get concerned about inflation again. But in the rosy scenario, the soft landing that the market seems to think is going to happen at the moment, you'd probably see the dollar below 100. Was the point that I was trying to make. I mean, I think that the way that I'm trading it in ES is blasphemy, but what about the specific trade is blasphemy? You think that we should be short today? Should we be short today? Just 4-5 again. Close to 4-5 at least. I kind of feel like that maybe this little rally in the treasuries is short-lived, although it's quite late in the session to be seeing what's going on right now. So this might be one of those days where it just goes around a lot. Oh, ES is the devil's instrument. It really is. I think it's pretty fitting that I come over here and I'm like, I think that the flows are positive and I can just kind of gamble going along here and buying the dip in the S&P 500 and just have like a really wide stop of like 20 points and then they start faltering almost, Yeah, maybe they'll go and stop me out just to make sure I understand that I'm not meant to trade E-minis. Okay, if the market gets a soft landing, that means everything is good and fine in the US, so everyone around should be fleeing to America. Well, okay, so maybe I didn't really consider that scenario. So you're saying we accomplished the soft landing, but other economies continue to struggle a little bit, right? Because I guess that's entirely possible, if not just as likely or maybe even more likely than the scenario that I was laying out. I guess the only reason why I was talking about this scenario that I was is because the dollar is dropping so hard today. So I guess my assumption was that, okay, soft landing, sell the dollar, right? But you're probably right. That's probably too simplistic of an analysis. So I'm going to give you that one. And you're right. The EU is not fine. The UK is not fine. China is not fine. Japan is not fine, although what's happened over here the past week or two really, really helps them out. Yeah, also, so we've lost about 40 cents today. Actually, it's more than that. It was 3.5 to 8.5, so it was actually 50 cents. 50 cent range down. I didn't put China in there, so this is not in Dixie. But I mean, what was happening in there does affect the value of the dollar overall. Right? Well, I'm kind with the treasuries having pulled back now. Now I'm like, okay, maybe I can try and take it long. But I'm having a hard time making sense of these flows, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. Actually, you know what? I think that I'm not seeing very strong evidence of large meta orders being executed this morning. I haven't really seen a whole lot of really big orders. I haven't seen as that really solid auto-correlated order flow in terms of cumulative delta. I think that most of what I'm seeing here in the treasuries is a correlation with the dollar, and that the flows in the treasury themselves aren't really there. So if I took a trade in the treasury on my live account, I would basically be trading the dollar at that point. And I'm not sure if I have any kind of edge to tell me what the dollar is going to do or where it's going to turn. I find currencies to be... I kind of look at currencies as like random forces of nature. I'm sure that there are things I can look at that would shift that and make me more informed on those, but in comparison to what happened after the CPI release, it's nothing is true. What do you think? You think they're going to stop out the ES trade? Or do you think that I'm going to get it? It's kind of funny because back when I was regularly trading ES, you know, because the micro treasuries hadn't come out yet. You know, being that wrong on a position, like 10 points, was usually where I would be like, oh, that's no good. Now, part of it is that we're more volatile than we were back when I did that. But I'm just like not concerned about the position. Because I see the S&P 500 come out and there be some big sell that makes everybody go like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Why is it falling? And then they just completely retrace it and it's fine. So I'm not actually too concerned about it at the moment. If anything, I'm just kind of like, because I guess if I had not bought at 20 again, I could be buying at 15 and trying to reduce my position or something. I don't know if I'm back at ES. I'm just for entertainment value. I guess I go back and forth, and you guys have talked me into the stream should be bigger, so let's trade the E-mini. That's what it is. That's what it is. And then tomorrow I'll probably be like, screw ES. I don't care if anybody ever watches this. I just want to trade and get good at trading, and I don't care what anybody thinks. Trade NQ. I don't know if I could handle NQ. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll switch it and I'll make it NQ. If you want more viewers, you need snake oil. I just need to get my Corolla GR. Yeah, actually, you know what? That wouldn't work. You know what sucks about TikTok is that like it's kind of raised the bar in terms of wealth signaling, right? If I want to come out and wealth signal and tell everybody, like, guys, I am so effing rich, you should totally follow everything that I say, right? You gotta have a Lambo, don't you? Like, if it's not a Lambo, I don't think, if I go and I pull, make a video in my Corolla GR, everybody's gonna be, it's just a Corolla. Like, it has to be a Lambo, doesn't it? See, they've raised the bar too much. It's all these crypto bros and people faking it on TikTok screwed it up for the rest of us. Because otherwise people would be like, oh, Seth Senpai, tell me everything you know, right? If this was like the 90s, everybody would be like, Seth Senpai, help me. You can't have quality content and a big quantity of... Oh, I don't know if that's true. I don't think that that's explicitly true. I think that there are some problems with having a large audience as it pertains to having a trading channel. Yeah, that's exactly. Like Kurt Veritasium, I think that that's a great channel. Some of his more recent videos have kind of been boring to me, but I think he has a great channel. Yeah, it's a really good channel. Kurt's Gazette, right? They keep the quality up, man. They only make like a video a month. I think they make videos more often than that, but they don't make very many videos. They do awesome because they have the quality, right? But in our space, yes, it seems like that some of the things that would make the channel more popular would kind of involve selling out. And I'm not going to do that. we can try and make the channel successful, and we can do what we can do, but there are some things about human nature and what they're looking for that essentially means that most people will not be attracted to the things that will help them the most. They'll be attracted to the financial junk food. Because that's what it is, right? That's what it is we're selling kale. This channel is all about kale, and everybody wants to go and eat ice cream. That's what it is. And I'm sitting here saying you can't live on ice cream alone. Well, I'm not saying that you live on kale alone, but I'm kind of saying you need to have everything, and that there should be kale in that meal at sometimes. Sometimes spinach, you know. Trading isn't interesting because we're not talking. I don't know. So, okay, so here's something I find interesting that, so like Daniel Inskeep's videos. So if you haven't seen them, Daniel Inskeep, he kind of went about trying to become like the anti-guru. So he would go and say, oh, all these people say you can make money doing this hustle or this hustle, so I'm just going to try them for you so that you don't have to. And so he picked up day trading, and that one just seemed to be particularly interesting to him. So he has made 3 videos now, or maybe 5 videos about the trading. And he actually, his most recent one, he did pass a combine with it. I don't think that he'll keep it, but so I'm interested to see if he makes a video when he loses the account. I hope he does. But he did pass the combine. But the thing that I find interesting about it is that he comes in and he goes in day by day and says, I took this trade and this is what happened, and I took this trade and this is what happened. And you know what? Like, I don't give a crap. I'm just like, okay, like, you took a trade. We take trades every day. Like, who cares? There's nothing interesting about you took a trade and this one worked and that one didn't and all that sort of stuff, right? But the people watch it. People watch it. But you know what it is you're telling a story, right? There is this element to it that is a story about our stream that you could probably tell if I was a little bit better at talking and we edited it all together, you know? Like yesterday was kind of an interesting story. We had everything right, I think, but for some reason it just didn't want to go for us. And that was really frustrating. But people eat that stuff up because people like stories. And I think that when you come into the stream at the very beginning, you can't really see the story, right? You might not know what's going on. You might not know where we're at in the trade. I guess I should do a better job to try and sell what the story is, right? I guess the story right now is kind of a little bit boring. The story now is that I don't really have a flow to attach to, but the treasuries are moving quite a bit, and it seems to be driven by the dollars, so. Did you say you wish he loses the account? No, I'm not saying I wish he loses the account. I'm saying that I'm willing to bet $100 that he does. I'm willing to bet $100 that he does, and I hope that he makes a video when it happens. Let's say in the next year, Daniel Inskeep loses the funded account, if he hasn't already, frankly. Katrina Khalif? I've never heard of them. Honestly, with all that money funding the eval, he should just deposit the money and trade micro. Well, yeah. That was one of the things that he did say in the video was like, I wouldn't have done it if I knew how long it was going to take me, how long and how many attempts it would take me to pass the combine. This is what he said. But like the thing is that when he did pass the combine, it basically came from like 3 days in a row when the market was just on a huge tear. So I'm not very confident in his ability to keep that. And, you know, he's doing a strategy that we know this sort of stuff happens. So I'd be happy for him if it happened, but I'm going to bet you that he loses the account within a year. How much does it make per video ballpark figure? Oh, I bet you that he's making way more money from an individual video. So I think YouTube has rules about like what I can tell you about CPMs and things like that. But basically, the CPM for trading and finance stuff is ridiculously high. So if you have a channel like Daniel and Trades by Matt have that are hundreds of thousands of viewers, you can make a living off of it at the very least, right? You can make $20,000 a year. And that's just the YouTube advertising. That doesn't even count like the commissions, because like Nat makes commissions off of people signing up for the combines, right? So I make commissions off of Jigsaw, and it's pretty good. Not gonna lie. I mean, it's not enough to live on. It's a pretty trivial amount in the larger perspective. But in terms of like being able to do what we want to do here on this channel, to have like the nice camera and all these other things, it's pretty nice. It's a pretty good deal. And if I had one of those accounts and you scaled up what I was making on the Jigsaw affiliate links, then it could possibly like completely replace my income. It's possible that that's in there. But how many people do you think are willing to buy Jigsaw, $500 piece of software with a monthly trading license, compared to the number of people that are willing to spend $150 on a Top Step combine, right? So probably the amount that he's making on Top Step combines is pretty crazy. Well, let's not say pretty crazy, but I bet you that Trades by Matt is not making $100,000 a year from his YouTube channel, but I think that with the right things that he probably could get it to that point. And Daniel Inskeep almost certainly makes 6 figures or more from his channel. So I don't know what he makes on an individual video, but yeah, the risk reward is really positive for him. For sure. He doesn't look at the dime, he just tries. Well, I don't think he just has it for show. I think he has it because it's the best way to execute, right? Like, it's a lot easier to just come in and click, I want to bid here, I want to sell here. But he's not analyzing the order flow. That's true, yes. Do you have to pay for platform with futures funded programs? No. So they will have platforms that you can use for free with those funded trader programs. But you can still own a platform like Jigsaw. Like if you wanted to use Jigsaw with Top Step Trader, you would have to own Jigsaw. What is it's I wish that it wasn't about time to end, because you guys keep bringing up Fat Cat and I just don't get it, man. I don't like his videos. When I watch his videos, I feel like I'm watching this guy rant for an hour and a half about nothing. I really don't. Like, this is one of the things that also drives me crazy, is that on YouTube, people seem to love you just giving them really generalized tips. You know what I mean? It's like, don't trade during news because that can really screw you over sometimes, right? Those are the sorts of things that I see a lot of people talk about. And he gives those sorts of tips as they relate to the DOM, but he's not giving you anything in there that, like, I can prove to you is like an explicit edge on the DOM. And so, yeah, buy low, sell. So I just don't understand why so many order flow guys love his content so much. And that was always the case, even when he was a super tiny channel. I mean, he's still a relatively small channel. I think he's a little bit larger than us now. But but then the thing that really weirds me out about it is that his videos are so effing long, man. So long. Like, I usually watch these. So I'll tell you, for instance, Axia did a webinar with Jigsaw the other day, and I think that Axia in general are pretty good. But the trade that they showed people was basically, we saw the Japanese yen taking off and we jumped on board, and that's the trade that we're going to teach you. And I'm kind of like, okay, that's okay. It just kind of seemed like a dumb thing to make a webinar about. And so, but like, the thing was, it was just like 20 minutes. So I can come in, I can set YouTube to double speed and watch the whole video in 10 minutes is fine, right? But this Fat Cat guy is like, you have to sit, even if you're watching double speed, you have to watch it for 45 minutes, and he doesn't actually, you know, there's no focus, there's no plan about it, and it's just like, and then on top of all of that, I can't prove anything that he's saying, you know, but he's really popular. So this is where I come back to, like, you know what? Part of it is I'm just not as entertaining or likable as other people, maybe. Maybe sometimes I am, but I think that in the larger picture, a lot of what I'm saying and a lot of the way that I say it are things that people don't actually want to hear. And I've kind of consigned myself to that fact that that's the way that it is. And maybe someday I can kind of figure out how to improve some of those things. But, like, because I tell you what, it doesn't have to do with the amount of edge that they're giving you. Okay. Because if it came down to how much useful, really truly valuable information they're giving you, this channel is the best channel on YouTube, bar none. I have never seen anywhere else where they come even close to teaching you about stylized behaviors of markets, things that we actually know the market does and are proven and have research behind them. I don't see any of these guys even barely touch on that stuff. The best that you're going to get is sometimes there are, like, lectures on quant stuff, right? But that stuff is maybe not so useful to you day trading, or it's kind of hard to know how to apply that to day trading, let's say. The only time I hear about ICT videos is from people claiming to be students with 59 minutes of how ICT is the greatest trader and tutor, and then 1 minute of I made $25 a day on the road to yeah, you're in this vicious circle of asking more viewers, complaining you don't have more, and then concluding you don't actually want more, only to be that's 100% what I do. Well, I think that what it actually is I don't necessarily have a strong desire to become an amazing YouTube channel, but it really bothers me, some of the channels that have become that. That's what it really is, right? Is I have success in other places of my life. I do the thing that I do. I really enjoy it. And my primary goal is to help the community and build a community for people that are really, truly serious and want to take a scientific approach of it. And I think they were doing a pretty good job with that. And it is maybe easier for us to accomplish that goal as a small channel. Okay. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't hate if the channel took off, because we would like more people to understand this stuff. I think the society would really benefit from it, right? So then I go out and I look at the channels that do blow up, that do take off, and I'm kind of like, why? Because it's very often content that I think is just absolutely terrible content. Just to have nice girls with yaboos to float the whole village. Well, what about the no BS day trading guy? I think that no BS day trading is... So I haven't seen him make a new video that I was really like into. I remember in the beginning I just ate that stuff up. But the book that he wrote, the basic course that he sells for like $70 is great. It's absolutely great. I don't think that you can get a better resource to like getting started. I don't think that you're going to be able to put that, read that book and then go out and be profitable. I think that there's a lot of stuff about like the context, which is what I say, predicting flows, that he doesn't say anything about. And I wish that I could sit him down in a room and teach him all this stuff and be like, this is what you should be saying to people now. This is like the piece you're missing, that you understand that you're not translating to everybody else, right? But is what it is. I really like him though. That's some of these ones, like, okay, like I really like John Grady. Would love to sit in a room and chat with him. When we had Gary Norden, like we did the podcast thing, or I mean we did the interview thing, but I talked to him off the podcast like twice as long. Like we were there for like 3 hours. I enjoy when I talk to Peter Davies as well. Okay. Some of these other people, it's like, I don't have any beef with Matt. It's just like, if I was in the room with Matt, all I would be thinking about is his strategy is absolute bullshit, right? I wouldn't be able to get over that, right? Were you talking about all he ever drives home is context? Well, but the problem is that context is too vague, right? He understands that like the context of it matters. But what it actually is how informational inefficiencies in the market can predict future orders and allow you to know what to actually be looking for in the order flow during that time, right? And he can only say it's context, and he's not able to break it down into, okay, what we really care about is what drives orders. And then we can dive into all of the things that we know potentially predicts orders. So we can talk about gamma and the time of the month and all macroeconomics and interest rate policy and all of these sorts of things, right? And he doesn't really teach that. He just says you got to understand the context, and I guess that just means that you just have to sit and watch the DOM long enough, right? And so what I see happen is a lot of people will even do the webinar with John Grady and not understand the macroeconomics and not pay attention to the macroeconomics and think that it's all just about that it's like technical analysis applied to order flow, which I don't think is what John Grady is trying to teach, right? So because context is too vague, I don't think that the students come out with the correct with the full picture. And I say that in part because that was the mistake that I made at the beginning as well, I think. And it wasn't until I understood all of the studies and the empirical proven stylized behaviors of markets that I understood how to approach the context beast. That makes sense? See, I focus in on John in particular because I think that if John understood the science about it, he would be like, oh, that totally wouldn't, then this and then that, right? Because when it goes in, it's kind of like, when you really understand it, it's like, oh, like, I always knew this, like, I always saw the market doing this, but I really didn't understand it because I didn't understand, like, the very specifics of it. Like, what does it very specifically do and very specifically not do? What do we really actually know about it? And once you got the full picture, everything just fits in, and all of those kinds of weird questions where things were always kind of a little fuzzy before it becomes so clear. So, yeah. But then some of these, like Fat Cat, well, I would think that I should get along with him because it's order flow and stuff, except for that it sounds to me like he's basically teaching technical analysis applied to order flow, and I don't get anything from his videos whatsoever, and I do not understand why you guys like him. But you guys do like him, and there must be something to it, right? If that's the case, then he doesn't need it all. Well, but I think that what has happened with John Grady is that he's been in the game long enough, and he was able to learn from, like, you know, like at a real prop firm, that he intuitively understands them, but he doesn't understand them on to, you know, like a scientific level to be able to give it to you, right? He basically is saying, this is how I came to know all of these things, and you just kind of have to go through the same process. And I think that what I'm doing is I'm giving you a model to understand the context that can be transferred, so that when you go and you look at the market, you're not just stumbling around until you find it. You actually know what you're looking for, and you can gain the experience a lot more quickly that way. But you're right. I think that he doesn't know them like that they're proven empirically. He might not even consciously know that he knows them, but he's been trading long enough that he's just kind of learned by instinct, right?
Block sell.
No, does he say that? Hit the bid? No, if you're hitting the bid, that should be hitting into the... But he might, like, mix his words around. I mean, you do that all the time. There you go. That's true in my experience regarding every person I consider a good trader. They most often aren't sound with theory or data, but are so on point with instincts. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, is that I think that with our framework, you are much more likely to develop the correct instincts, is kind of the case that I'm trying to make. Because it's all about training that neural network, and if you know the stylized behaviors of markets, then you can kind of filter that, and you're much more likely to build an effective network. So I made a video about market profile. It's like 2 videos back, so I'd go and watch that. I think it does. Because I think that... Well, okay, so the interesting thing is that I developed this stuff from, like, watching CNBC for years and years and years. That's where I got a lot of it from. But I think that you watch my order flow video series and you read the strategy documents, and then you start reading Zero Hedge every day and CNBC every day, that within a year you'll be to the place where, you know, you'll understand a good deal of it. And I'm not saying you're going to be profitable, but you'll at least understand what's going on. Whereas without it, I think it could take you 5 to 10 years. Anyways, I've like gone over by like 15 minutes, but we were talking about something interesting, so I went with it. Well, performing is a whole different beast, yeah. But the issue with that side of it, Lucas, is that some of performance is out of your control. Like you realize that, right? Sometimes if you come in and you're an S&P 500 trader and the S&P 500 is in a bear market, you're very unlikely to make money. Even if you're going short, it's much harder to trade when we're in a bear market than we are in a bull market. And that has nothing to do with you, right? That's why traders should focus on process, right? You've got to get the correct process and get really good at that process, and then hope that the circumstances become favorable, and that because you have the good process, when the conditions become favorable, you make money, right? You need to be process focused. Knowing more about something is usually an impediment to performance? Well, that's because knowing something usually makes you take less risks, right? So a lot of people that are performing by doing risky things. Most of the people that I've seen that people are like, yeah, these are really good traders and are all doing things that I'm like, that was a really dumb thing to do. They're so lucky that that turned out the way that it did for them. Well, so on that point, like bit stories, they say that people who performed better were the ones without education. I think that is largely because the financial world has been miseducated, right? Because the financial world still takes the paradigm of fundamental analysis versus technical analysis, and understanding both of those worlds to some extent, and then maybe you can combine them together. And I just don't think that it's a useful paradigm. If people were starting with the order flow view of markets, which is what the evidence suggests, then all of that education would actually be useful to them. So that has more to do with being miseducated, right? Because there are a lot of people, the big fund managers and stuff, that have beliefs that are just outright disproven. Okay, I really gotta get going though. I'm gonna leave this on here. I'm just like gonna try and not look at it, but it sure looks like they're gonna hit my 4,500. Maybe I made a bad bet on that one just because they might kind of be pinned to 4,500 going into the expiration tomorrow. So maybe that's why that's the thing that I should have thought of before taking this. But it's okay if it doesn't work out. No, I'm just kind of screwing around over there anyways. Nah, I wasn't really looking at the ES DOM and doing it. I was mostly just making a bet that I should be able to buy it just about anywhere, and if I have a large enough stop, eventually it will work out in my favor, but it looks like I was wrong. Anyways, I gotta go. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay excellent, team.